The following is a presentation of Team Bonding, providing more than 100 live, virtual, or hybrid corporate team building activities for companies around the world. Visit teambonding.com to schedule your event now.
Hello, team. Once again, it's me, your friend Rich Riddensland, coming to you from Team Building Around the World, the podcast where I speak to people from the team bonding, team building industry from all over the globe. We're doing things a little bit differently today. I have not one guest, but two, coming all the way from Universum. We have Loredana Stancu and Marius Blajut. Hello. Give me 1 second, guys, before we come on in, because I actually do need to send some love out there to my supporters. Of course, this show is supported by Catalyst Team Building Network. Find out more about the world's largest network of team building providers at catalystglobal.com. We also want to thank our friends at B1G1, which can make your business a real force for good. Visit b1g1.com to get started.
Now, my friends, let me get back to my guests. We have today Business Development Manager from Universum, Loredana Stancu, and we have the Division Manager and Senior Facilitator for Universum, Marius Blajut, and both are part of the Catalyst Team Building UK group.
Let's give them some love. Say hello to them. Just so you guys know, I have a small group of people collected under my desk. They're always very welcoming and warming. So, Lori and Marius, thank you so much for coming and joining us. Why don't you start off? Tell everybody, Marius, where it is you're coming from.
First of all, thanks for the love, Richard, and really nice being with you here today.
Thank you.
I'm coming from Romania, actually.
Nice. And Lori, why don't you go ahead and start? Let's start off with you. Just tell everybody about yourself, how you got into the industry.
Hi, guys. Very nice to be joining you in this beautiful podcast, and we're really honored to be part of this beautiful story.
Thank you.
I actually joined the Universum 4 years ago after a sabbatical year, but not so sabbatical, working abroad for 1 year in England and in Germany. And then I came here and I was like, okay, I really need some really good gig that I'm going to join. So I was kind of playing with working in events, but then team building popped up. At the beginning, I was also selling the mice events, but then I just started with team buildings and I fell in love. Mostly with the team and then with the events, but I think the order is less important. It was really, really a good start, actually.
Fantastic. And Maria, same question. How did you get started in this industry?
Well, actually, that was around 20 years ago that I did my first team building. I was a student back then in a student organization, and we were crazy about teams, having fun, playing games, and working better together. So that was actually the start. Then I started collaborating with Universum 10 years ago and have been facilitating events ever since.
Lori, you mentioned something called MICE. Now, I know what that means. I've been in the industry myself since about 2009, but can you explain to my audience what that means?
Of course, it's meetings, incentives, exhibitions, basically any other type of corporate event that you can imagine, basically.
Okay.
That's actually the most concise answer I've ever been given.
Marius, can just give us a brief overview, if you don't mind, coming all the way from Romania. Tell my audience what team building is like in Romania.
Well, I guess it's might be the same as all over the place. Maybe people getting together, doing something incredible together, I would say. Mm-hmm. I think it's the joy of being in an off setting, different from work, and just either have fun or do some simulations together that help build the team. Be it outdoor or indoor, it can be in a conference setting or in the great outdoors. And what we love to do actually with any group that we meet is to put a very big challenge on the table in order for the team to gather and to put their best out there.
Lori, what kind of challenges do you guys like to give to the teams? What is some of your favorite events?
Well, I have so many. Well, I would say most of them are from the Catalyst Global portfolio. We also have a couple of events that we develop by ourselves. But I think my favorite one is still Orchestrate after so many years, is a concept where we put people together like an orchestra. And in like 2 hours, they're able to play different instruments, very complex instruments, I would say, like violin or like a cello. Mm-hmm. And it's very powerful and very emotional. And it brings people, music is like an universal language. So You can bring people together regardless of where they come from, their race, their age, their position in the company, and so on. And I think it's still my favorite after like 5 or 6 years since it started and 4 years since selling it to our clients.
Now, Marius, you have over 10 years of experience in facilitating and inspirational experiences, but can you tell me what was the early days of team building like for you? Have things changed in Romania in the way that corporations like doing that kind of thing?
I actually remember a facilitators dance that we did 10 years ago, and we haven't actually done it lately. We were doing an outdoor event.
Okay.
So that was in 2010, and it was about to rain. So we were a pretty crazy bunch. And what we actually did, in order to warm up for the event, we undressed ourselves, actually, not completely, but almost.
Okay.
And we did a rain dance, it's called. And we filmed ourselves doing that, and then we sent it to the participants. I'm not sure we would still do this today, actually, 10 years after, but it was, I think it was a bit more outdoorish and more crazy and fun 10 years ago. It's still fun, but it's more about learning as well and creating team cohesion. I think maybe it's a bit more about business objectives nowadays than it used to be 10 years ago.
Okay.
But we still do crazy stuff, yeah.
Like what kind of things? What kind of craziness do you get into today?
I think actually we're still staying late with the participants and talking about any sort of subjects besides team building and business. I think but I wouldn't go into the details actually.
Okay. No problem. Lori, let's talk about you for a brief minute. You're a young lady out there in Romania. How is it that you decided to make team building your career?
Well, it's it's funny story because I was telling you in the beginning that I was selling at first because I'm the business development and I started as a developer as part of a team, and I was supposed to sell any kind of event and respond to the client's objectives the best way I can. But the thing is that when I started going to meetings for team buildings, it was like, okay, I really like events, generally speaking, but this thing with, discovering the client's objectives, making a change in their team and in their business really got to me. And I started really, really enjoying it and growing into it more and more because it's really, a unique feeling at the end of the event when not only your client, so the owner of the process inside the company comes to you to thank you or, just give you a shout out for what you've done for them. But when the participants come to shake your hand and hug you and tell you, guys, the hugging part wouldn't be possible now, but back then,
right.
It was such a very good feeling to know that, wow, we really made a change. Like these guys are going to remember this event like forever, and they're going to go back to the office and do something different, for the first time, they're really going to have an insight. It's not just, drinking and how the old school team building was a couple of years ago. It's not just, drinking and just chatting and no actual change, just socializing. And yeah, it really got to me. And now I'm really happy with the choice I made.
Fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. Marius, let's talk in little broader terms. What do you think the greatest benefit that actually teamwork brings to the corporations out in your country?
We are actually talking about this a lot lately because, pivoting to virtual, we are thinking what is still relevant. And what I think is the most important single element that team building creates is the connection between participants. Because really, after you do a big challenge together and you go through out of this world experience, because as Laura said, we emerge our participants in different types of alternative realities, let's say. They build a stronger connection between themselves. And then when they go back to the office, I think it's easier for them to say some things and work together and go over some clarities with more ease. So this building connection, I think this is the base of what's important to create through a team building experience. And then, of course, you can talk about communicating clearly, about strategy, about splitting roles and all of that, which are also quite important. But if you are to reduce to one single thing, I would point out connection, creating stronger connections between each of the persons involved.
Fantastic. Now, Lori, we were talking briefly, getting into the fact that this is a whole new world under the umbrella of COVID-19. How's that affecting things out there in Romania?
Oh, wow. Well, in the beginning in Romania, it hit hard in about like March, I think for the rest of the world as well, a little bit, but it changed a lot, the perspective and everything that we were doing. March and April were, historically speaking, very full months of events for us. So everything just stopped for a little bit, like everybody was in like a waiting mood. Let's see what's going on. Let's see how much time this will take.
Right.
But then after like, I think 2 or 3 days into this remote work and everything, we started testing concepts in order to pivot to virtual in a very fast and to be prepared for when people will be available again and to think about these kind of events. What I can say is that even though we had a period when nothing happened, so we were just keeping in touch with our clients, checking if they're safe in the first place. I can say we were actually concerned with them being, okay, and then, okay, maybe we can collaborate for something. And the happy news is that we started selling and having virtual events recently. And it's a joy to see that people can re-educate themselves and start believing that there are other solutions as well. It's not just about offline events, even though I can say that they are sometimes more powerful, but this virtual event setting is also a very good one. So you can still reach specific objectives, team objectives, and also business ones. And you can still make a transformation with this one as well. Our business dropped a lot. Yeah. We have like maybe 20-30% of what we used to have before the COVID, so before March. But we are hopeful and we are a very energical team. So like every person in our team is very, optimistic most of the times that we can still make it. We know we have good products. We know we have a strong team that can move on. Good. So we're keeping up with the things right now. And I'm really happy that this infrastructure and all the Catalyst Global setting allowed us to move forward and go into virtual events, because only us, we wouldn't have such an R&D big. Like we could have tested maybe 2-3 concepts, but now we have over 15 concepts that we can propose to our clients. So that's a really big deal. So we have something to put on the table when we talk to the clients.
That's great. Oh, good for you. Now, if you guys don't mind, hold on 1 second for me here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I want to take a break for a moment to tell all my team out there about Catalyst Team Building Network, an association of team building providers. With representatives in over 90 countries speaking more than 20 languages, the Catalyst Network is widely regarded as the voice of the team building industry. Network members share resources, best practices, and business opportunities. Catalyst partners are learning from each other and pushing the boundaries of what is possible in team building. Catalyst Network members share a common goal of creating highly relevant, socially responsible, good value experiences for their clients. For more information, please visit catalystglobal.com, the Catalyst Team Building Network, the world's largest network of team building providers. So, Marius, let's talk about those virtual events. Do you have any favorites?
Yeah, sure. But just briefly, I wanted to say a very nice word that you said about Catalyst Globals previously, and I actually am leaving those words.
Oh,
because it's always a joy to meet colleagues, let's say, from other countries. Really incredible and powerful to see them play together, test new concepts, learn from each other.
Fantastic.
And then to get back to your question, actually, my favorite virtual event, which we're going to test extensively next week, it's called Heroes of Troy.
Oh, how does that work?
Oh, yeah, it works beautifully. The idea is coming from our colleagues from Slovenia, actually. They invented the simulation, let's say. It's a business simulation,
Great.
But really, really fun. And we have helped them automate it, to make it available for online delivery, let's say. So we did the software part that you need in order to work beautifully online. So very briefly, it's about anti-Greece, and you are actually... The teams playing it are a team of consultants helping Helen of Troy and Paris to escape from Sparta and reach Troy safely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's really rich. It's a really rich story behind it. And then each team they need to understand the situation and to find the best strategy to help them reach Troy in the shortest amount possible, and of course maximizing their army strength.
That's great. I love that.
Yep.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I can't wait for that to come here to the States. I'd love to see it. Now,
sure.
Let's switch gears a bit if we can, Lori. Let's talk a bit about charitable organizations. Do you guys have any favorites that you work with over there?
Actually, we do work. Unfortunately, the appetite in Romania, it's not so. It wasn't so big. Actually, it started growing only in the last several years. But we even had programs and collaborations with the Buy One G1 program that you actually mentioned at the beginning, and we were working into developing this collaboration more. We've done pretty nice stuff, I can say, for the local community, together with our clients, of course, but not only with our clients. We also, as a team, even though we don't really like to talk about it, we don't make it publicly, we do donate sometimes, for different causes. But with our clients, we've done, like kindergartens, like schools. We help them do that. We even had bikes. We had challenges with our clients, with the participants, and then we donated the bikes. We made toys for different charities. We even have a preferred one that we work with very closely because they're not so big, and people tend to go to the bigger charities because it's in your face, they're everywhere. So we want to support them more. They work with kids that have families, but their families cannot afford to provide more than the food and the day-to-day things that they need. So we help them with different things like, furniture, clothes, toys, whatever they need.
That's great. Marius, sort of the same question. You don't have to get into specifics if you don't like, but I have to say that one of my favorite things being in this industry is, for example, we do what's called a bike build, where we'll have clients break up into teams and they will build bikes and they get to race them and they get to, we test them to make sure that they're safe, and they're creating commercials for their bikes. It's a lot of fun. It's a great way to spend an afternoon. But the best part of that event, for me especially, is always at the end when we open the doors and the kids that are part of this charitable organization we work with come rushing in to see the bikes that they're going to get. And they get to talk to the charity itself. Do you have any memories like that you want to share?
Yeah, actually. And although I love kids and I do have 2 kids of my own, this one is not with kids.
Oh, okay. That's not a problem.
What we actually did, we did a really beautiful event with one of our partners. They built actually dog houses.
Really?
And they actually built them like from scratch. They had some plans and some materials, and they painted them, and they made the story about them. And then at the end, the owner of a dog shelter house came with a few dogs, and they went into their houses, and it was actually pretty nice. And then we brought to the shelter all those dog houses, and we put them into place, and the dogs started, going into them and stuff like that. The partner was, they were selling products for animals, of course. They were all animal lovers. So for them, it was a pretty touching moment to actually see the animals using their own work for the day.
Yeah, that's great. I would love to be a part of that one, too. All right, guys, hold on for me one more second, too, if you don't mind. Because I do want to tell all my friends out there about B1G1, which can make your business a real force for good. When you're part of B1G1, you bring new purpose, meaning, and relevance to your business by making giving a core of what you do. Unlike conventional giving models, B1G1 helps small and medium-sized businesses achieve more social impact by embedding giving activities in their everyday business operations to create unique giving stories. Every business transaction can impact lives from just as little as 1 cent. So please visit b1g1.com to get started. B1G1, business for good. All right, Marius, if you don't mind, I want to stick with you just for a quick second. Let's talk about, you say you have 2 kids of your own. And, of course, I assume you guys are in lockdown over there as well with COVID-19? You're sheltering at home? So, Marius, if you don't mind, could we get into, do you play your games with your kids? What do you use from your team building experience in your everyday life?
Well, actually, quite a lot, to be honest. And the last 10 years, as I said, being close to Universum, and for the last 4 years, having access to the Catalyst Global product, it meant we tested a lot of different types of concepts, from painting, from orchestra, as Lore was saying, from building cars, all sorts of crazy stuff. And of course, these things I brought home as well. I mean, this playing attitude and trying all sorts of stuff. And for example, Lego. I also use Lego in our training. And I'm playing Lego differently with my kids, I would say, after facilitating with adults also. yeah, it's nice to play with your kid and see them express themselves through Lego, see what they build and why they build it. I mean, it really opens up a conversation, even with the 3-year-old or the 5-year-old that I have, the older one.
Nice. Very nice.
They love musical instruments. I brought home violin and viola, so they try them and they love that. And actually, a few days ago, I tested with them a product that we're gonna do next week here in Romania at the drive-in. So the lockdown is partially over.
Oh,
And we
great.
want to do a family quiz at a drive-in event next week. And actually, I tested it with my family, and they actually loved it. So it involved Disney movies and all sorts of questions, good also for parents and for kids. And we played it together, and they gave me feedback, of course. And now I have a really nice, history already with this trivia to present next week.
And you get to tell these adult clients of yours that your kids were able to do this and succeed, and if they can't, well, that just shows.
Yeah, of course.
Lori, what's like your favorite event to try to push for a client? What do you like to try to sell for them?
Well, that's a tricky question because we get asked that a lot. What's your favorite concept to push? But the thing is that specifically for us, for our organization, for Universum, is a little bit different because since the beginning, since moment one, when I arrived here, it wasn't about, okay, guys, we have like the least cost for these 5 events, just push these ones. It was like, okay, let's discover the objectives. So we made like a mantra out of this. I mean, we really want to understand the client's objectives really, really well and propose them something that will really help their team evolve. So I can name a few concepts like Go Team, for example, because it's very versatile and it's actually one of our best sellers because you can make a story out of it and you can change the story every time. You can respond, for example, to values, objectives. You can build a culture if they don't have or if they want to change something in that. And you can have different tasks either individually or on teams. So it's very versatile and we like to propose it a lot and people understand it. It's also outdoors and it helps you a lot in also moving and enjoying the outdoors environment. But I can say there are a lot of concepts that I really like. I also like the Heroes of Troy that Marius mentioned, the orchestrated, I was saying that it's about emotion.
Yeah.
I can also say about, for example, the Infinite Loop, which was a really strike. For example, when it appeared in like 2018, our partners from Tunisia, they worked for 2 years for this concept. And in the offline world, it was VR based. So we just, we knocked the market in Romania. We were like, guys, I know we're doing a lot of team building events, but we brought VR into team building. Can you imagine how this works, So there are a lot of concepts, but I think the most important part is that if the client knows what they want, or we can help them discover what would suit them best, to really go into that area and propose any concept specifically from Catalyst Global portfolio would really help them. So we are very diverse in our portfolio, I can say here, because we never sell just a concept for like 3 months and just that. It's always on the objectives.
Fantastic. Now, Marius, since you're more in the field, let me ask you this. What kind of challenging issues do you face when you're actually out there in front of a client?
Actually, I think that because we work with people and we work with groups of people between 10 to 500 or even more than 500.
Right.
So I can facilitate at any given time a cozy 10 people event or a wild 500 people event.
Sure.
I think the most challenging thing is to actually connect with them and to involve them in the agenda. Of course, it helps that we have games to play. But imagine, 100 people group that partied all night long before, and you have like an exercise planned for 9:30 in the morning, and they're still dozy after the night before. And of course, the company has some business objectives with that team building. So it's a pretty tricky place sometimes to be in. So I think that the most challenging is to actually get them going and connect with them at the beginning of the event. Because once you start things and you do, the initial icebreaker and they see how you are and how you connect with them, then after that things are easy. But actually, gathering them at the beginning of the event after a rough night can be challenging. I think that's some of the most challenging thing, to animate people and attract them to the program. Once they see what it is about, they see that it's fun, they see that it's interesting, they see that it's nice, then they play whatever you throw at them.
Okay. Now, let's say, if you don't mind, Marius, you're at an event. Can you give me an example of an event where something went horribly wrong and you had to actually think your way through it?
How horribly wrong?
That's entirely up to you. It's your story.
Actually, I have a few examples, and I'm not even sure which one to pick, but I'll just take one. It's actually an event where we had it was a big event with the companies from a multinational company here in Romania, and they brought all their partners. There were 400 partners from all over Romania in the room.
Okay.
And the CEO was speaking, and then we were supposed to have our activity, orchestrate. The Loredana said before, so I think it's nice because we make connections. So we were in this fancy hotel and the CEO was speaking and we were supposed to be next. And he said, oh yes, and now we have a big surprise. It's because we like innovation and creativity. We'll do something very interesting now, and let's wait for our partners to go in. And I was supposed to open the door for the orchestrate team, so for the conductor and for the musician. And I went, the door was back behind the stage, and I was near the stage in front of all these 400 people and near the CEO. And he was making a sign to me, like, go and bring them on the stage. And I went to the door and I tried to open it, and I became livid because the door wasn't opening anymore. It was actually locked. So before we tested it before break, but somehow somebody from the hotel locked it and we didn't notice. And imagine I have 400 people waiting for this, the CEO looking at me and saying, open the door. And I was trying to open the door and the door was not open. And I could see it on his lips. Open the door. And so it's that was, I think, a fantastic failure. Fortunately, a guy from my team, he started screaming like crazy behind the door, and the guy from the hotel came and opened the door. And I think it took 2 or 3 awkward minutes, but after that, the conductor came on stage and everything went smoothly from there.
That's fantastic. And it's so good to know that all around the world, no matter who I talk to, everybody seems to have problems like this. So,
imagine 15 people looking for a key, Rich.
Lori, let's ask you, what are some of the biggest success stories that you have? Do you have any examples of just a huge success?
Wow, where to start from?
Yeah.
Actually, we have a couple of really, really good stories. One that I specifically remember is also related to the sales process a little bit, but hey, what can I do? This is where I'm from. I went to a meeting with all the board directors for a company that works in a heavy industry, and they had very specific objectives. We presented a very nice story that we'd like to implement with them, but they were all very distrustful, maybe because I was also a little bit younger back then, and I went to the meeting by myself. I didn't know they were all gonna come, so 7 people from the board.
Okay.
Yeah, it was so interesting, and then they were really, really not very convinced. Even in the day of the event, there were some of them were really, like, oh, is this really going to work? Are we going to do the change? It was about the culture and implementing the values and cascading all that story to all the people in the company. So at the day of the event, we had like 5 different team building concepts the first day, and 2 in the second, and 1 in the last day. And I remember that with each activity, people were coming to us. And then at the party in the second day, the CEO came to me and he was like, Lori, I'm really sorry we distrusted you guys. You did a really amazing, amazing job. I cannot even imagine what would have happened with this event if we would have said no.
Great.
And in the last day, what I remember is that I was saying at the beginning that sometimes participants come to thank us and tell us how the event went and how did they enjoy it. But that one was a really, really great one because I think 70% of the participants came and saluted all our team, and they thanked us for all the insights that they got and the changes that they felt that happened in their team. It was like the core people, like 70 people from them, but we know they went back then to their teams and they cascaded all that information to the whole organization, and they really met their 2020 objectives. It was like 3 years or 4 years ago, and they had like a 4-year plan. And I know they're doing really well now.
That's great.
And
Marius,
we have an event with them on Friday, right, Lore?
Sorry?
We have an event with them on Friday, I think, with the same.
I wasn't talking about those ones, but yeah, they're also really good.
Okay, sorry.
well, it's good to know you have multiple successes. Marius, go ahead. I was going to ask you the same question anyway, Marius. Tell me one of your greatest success stories.
I was actually thinking of a last autumn event, a live event. It's the example. It's still about previous life. Now we are living a different life in the virtual world.
Yep.
But last year in November we had a pretty big event with I think around 300 people from all over Europe. And they wanted something custom for them. And they came to us, I think, 2 or 3 weeks before the event. And they wanted to do something fun, dynamic, engaging, but pay attention to this, on integrity. The subject was integrity.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was pretty serious about bribing and avoiding all sorts of stuff. So yeah, how to go about it. And we actually get some examples from their ethics commission, that what to do, what not to do in certain circumstances. And we took some movies such as Authentic Bureau, if you know, with examples from politics or from example with the military. And we created a fun and engaging event around integrity in which we explored how they understood about integrity and how they reach decisions and what they pay attention to. And we started with fun, with moments from movies, and then we switched to examples from their company and what could happen to them. And actually, that was a really thrilling experience, to have all people there engage in this subject and to do something like 100% custom build for them. To actually see that working and to be there in the flow, I of course, was facilitating this event. That was actually a real joy. What we exist for, actually, I believe, and having the congratulations at the end, what Lore was saying as well. And then drinking a beer with the team afterwards, that really makes for a pretty good success, I would say.
That's fantastic. Guys, thank you so very much for being on the show today. You were amazing. I'm actually really enjoying this dynamic of not just me and someone else, but a group of us sitting together and talking. That's been really great. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting us. It was really, really a joy to be here. And the questions actually, they made me think a little bit, because sometimes it's really good to take a step backwards and just put everything into perspective if you're not doing it every day. So it was really good conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm glad that you feel that way because I'm kind of sucking up to you for a reason here because it's about time to put you guys on the hot seat. We're going to play what I call my speed round now. What this is, I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock and I'm going to ask the two of you some questions. Now, they're not necessarily going to be the same questions for each. I will let you know when that comes up. But the objective here is just to actually go ahead and give me the first answer that comes to your mind. Don't try to think too hard about it. Just answer is going to be the best way to get this done. Now, just so you know, I have gotten up to 13 questions correctly answered or fully answered within 60 seconds. So that's the number to beat if you guys want to be competitive at all. See, the reason I do this is, Marius, you can certainly attest to this. When you get there in front of a crowd and they come in and they're like, oh, we have to do another team building event. This is kind of like an icebreaker for me where I'm going to force you to do something uncomfortable like we forced them to do. Okay. So once we hear the music, I'll start asking the questions and we can get going. Lori, do you have any pets?
Yes, 4.
Great. Marius, you say you have 2 kids?
Yes.
Which one's your favorite?
Both.
Nice. Lori, if you could ask any of your pets any question and know that it would be answered, what would that question be?
Are you happy?
Oh, that's lovely. Marius, how would you describe Lori to a friend who's never met her?
Incredible.
Oh.
Lori, same question about Marius.
The amazing peaceful warrior. I've said to him that before.
Fantastic.
Marius, would you rather be invisible or have the ability to fly?
Fly.
Fly, excellent. Lori, same question.
Fly, definitely.
Okay. Marius, favorite movie?
Matrix.
And there we go. See, that was pretty harmless, right?
Oh, 60 seconds already gone.
60 seconds is already gone. But you guys managed together to get through 10 questions fully.
Oh.
No way.
Sorry, the last person.
We laughed throughout.
It's good we're not competitive. We like the learning of it.
Thank
Hey,
you.
I am here. I am competitive.
Guys, once again, thank you so much for coming on the show. My team out there, please, let's give a huge round of applause for Loredana Stancu and Marius Blajut. You guys were absolutely amazing. So entertaining. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Rich.
as well, Richard.
And thank you to everyone out there for listening to Team Building Around the World. If you like the show, please share it with a friend or a colleague, and we'd be grateful if you would subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you find your favorite podcast and leave us that favorable review. If you don't have a favorable review to leave, just shut up about it. It's totally fine. No one's going to worry. All past episodes can be found at teambonding.com. And that's it, my friends. As for me, this has been Rich Rinnensland. You've been listening to Team Building Around the World. And always remember, if you are within the sound of my voice, you are now on my team, and I am always on yours. Thanks, everyone, and we will see you next time.
It's been said that you learn more about a person in an hour of play than in a year of conversation. So why not put your coworkers to play with the help of the team at Team Bonding? Team Bonding was founded over 20 years ago with one simple question. How can employees have a great time while fostering strong, authentic bonds between people who work together? Their catalog of innovative events includes scavenger hunts, Jeopardy, and much more. Each activity, whether live, virtual, or hybrid, maximizes the impact of team building with an accent on fun. Visit teambonding.com to schedule your event now. Team Bonding, when you want seriously fun results.